Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and present our company, Noceira, to everybody. And thank you to Marty. I have to say, I'm also a new Texas resident from Silicon Valley, and it's my really first occasion to interact in the business community here. Although we do have a lot of investors up in Dallas, where I live. So I'm here to talk to you about Noceira and our product, which is a pre-market but late-stage clinical development. That is a completely non-invasive, discreet, drug-free, comfortable, easy-to-use home health device that's poised to disrupt one of the largest unmet needs in all of medicine, which is migraine headaches. Just out of curiosity in the room, who here has migraines or someone in their family or close to them that they work with has migraines? We'll go over some of the statistics, but it's really a pervasive problem. Okay, so maybe the best way to first introduce Noceira is just to say that we're the first company ever in history to be awarded as a breakthrough device by the FDA for treating migraines. That's a special program that the FDA has that requires you to show with clinical evidence that they're more effective than other therapies that exist. That FDA does not endorse products, but that's about as close as you can get to an FDA endorsement. So our trajectory in, I just realized my video is not on. Do I need that on? For the people out there, it's okay. Okay. All right. Technical. So the statistics are staggering. It's the #1 cause of disability and the #3 most prevalent illness for middle-aged adults. It's the #2 cause of all ER visits. It's a significant cause of women's health, major women's health issues. 3-to-1 women versus men, 18% of women. It's also a major overlap with opioid misuse, cause of stress, anxiety, depression, sleep disorders. The size of the number of people that are affected by migraine is bigger than diabetes and osteoarthritis or asthma combined. So that's what we mean by massive unmet need. There's been a renaissance of new drugs and products. You can't turn the television on today without seeing a migraine commercial. Go back 5 years ago, you've never seen a migraine commercial. So there's been onslaught of new drugs and devices. They haven't really moved the needle. If you notice some of those commercials don't say how well they work. We'll talk about one of those drugs in a minute. So 60 to 80% of migraine patients today are really left underserved and still in pain and looking for more effective treatments. The number of people that we target as an addressable market is 50 million people in the industrial world that are at a doctor getting a prescription for migraines today. So our inventors were the first to recognize a very unique confluence of nerves, unlike anywhere else in the body, that connect between pressure sensors in the ears and areas of the brain that regulate pain and other symptoms of migraine. And the patented approach that leverages off of that modulates air pressure changes in the ears to stimulate these multiple therapeutic pathways in the areas of the brain to very rapidly and completely treat migraine attacks. There are other devices that exist in the neuromodulation space for treating migraine. They try to target single branch of either what's called trigeminal nerve or vagus nerve at other locations to try to treat migraine. We're the only approach that treats both those systems as well as many others and have multiple mechanisms of action, which is why we think that we work so much more effectively. And you'll see some competitive data in a second. So this is highly differentiated with respect to how, where, and why it works so much better than anything else in migraine. The way the device works, it's a very simple system, but it's very complex as to why it works. It involves a phone app that controls a device that's connected to 2 earbuds that go in your ear. Looks very much like listening to music. Much more than giving yourself medical treatment. very small and pocketable. Is that better? Okay. This is connected by two comfortable earbuds that go in the right and left ear. Very similar earbuds that are used in audio earphones. A patient will, the phone app asks some information about the distribution of pain. In the patient's head, there's an avatar on the app. You can see a small picture of it there. And based on the distribution of the headache pattern in the patient's head, it customizes the therapy, air pressure modulation in the ears, to personalize it to optimize the results for every migraine attack in every patient. And like I say, it's comfortable, easy to use, very consumer-oriented product that doesn't look like you're giving yourself medical treatment, and it's very pleasant actually feeling. Anyone can try this if you'd like at another time. All right, so clinical data. Clinical data is king in this world. We've had 5 clinical studies to date, over 250 patients treated. Over 70% of all migraine attacks that are treated with our device were completely pain-free by the end of just 20 to 30 minutes of treatment, and sustained out to 2 hours. In this industry, the main endpoint people look at is how many people are pain-free at 2 hours. So that just eclipses the entire world of existing drugs and devices on the market today, live in the range that you see there in red. So we're multiples more effective in our clinical data than any other device. Maybe even more impressive, of the people who get at least 50% relief, is over 90, more than 9 out of 10 patients. So the vast majority of everybody have at least 50% relief within 20 minutes. It's very interesting new data. There's 2 categories of treatments for migraine. One is to acutely treat it, like taking an aspirin to treat a headache. The other is prophylaxis, or prevention, to take a drug to prevent, or use a device to prevent future migraines from happening. Our most recent study data has shown very profound and very unique prevention effect from only acutely treating 2 migraine attacks. 40% of our patients, the way this data works is kind of weird, 40% of our patients have at least 50% reduction in their number of headache days out to 90 days after just treating 2 attacks. About 2 out of 10 had a 50% reduction, at least in the intensity of their headaches, out to 60 days. And about 1 out of 10 had both reduction in headache days and intensity. And this is just from treating 2 migraine attacks with our device. This is the first time ever that anyone's shown the ability to prevent migraines from an acute treatment. So it's a very disruptive new category that we're pushing with this, in addition to just being a dominating acute treatment. Yes, I'm going to show them in context in a second. We're kind of positioned to be the leader of what you call the second wave of devices. And sometimes it's great not to be first, and it's good to follow in behind people, especially in this kind of marketplace, where a lot of doors are thrown open for you. Things in our market, like reimbursement, and are there codes that are established by someone else, take a lot of effort, time, and money. And those first wave of devices weren't great in terms of being able to move the needle in the space and gain market share, but they threw a lot of doors open, and we're the ones putting in the end zone, as you can see with the data. So our typical trial patient, just to show some testimonials, they've had migraines for years. Nothing they've ever tried really gave them meaningful relief. And it's you can show data till the cows come home, but when you see someone right in front of your face have their migraine, one of the words that we get is, feels like you sucked the migraine right out of my ear. My headache, my pain's just gone. It's very dramatic and sometimes emotional, the response you get from patients with this type of relief. This has been published in many peer-reviewed venues, a lot of press as well. We've won some awards. We're Emerging Neurology Device Company of the Year and one of the top 10 new neuromodulation platforms. Just a brief comment, if you're interested in MedTech at all, you need to be interested in regulatory and reimbursement themes. As a breakthrough device, that advantages us with the FDA. We are pre-FDA, but we have this designation already. which advantages us to be more interactive and accelerated in the FDA review process. We fit in as a Class 2 device. It's called a de novo review. We will have a clinical trial. The round that we're raising now is to fund the FDA pivotal trial, which will be our 7th trial that'll support that. And that'll take about 9 months.
How much have you raised to date, and how much are you raising?
Next slide, but we've raised $16 million, and we're raising another about 11.
How does your device work in terms of accessing? Is it like some kind of AI powered machine learning, or is it? I mean, how do people modulate it themselves? How does that work?
The device has this avatar that I mentioned that you put in your headache patterns. Then it customizes how it treats between your ears and what patterns. Every few minutes, it asks you how you're responding to treatment. Are you feeling better? We get patients feeling better within 2 to 5 minutes, like that fast. Every few minutes it asks, and the patient goes back in and changes the avatar very quickly. If they're feeling better, the pain here is dropped, change that score, and it adjusts. So there's an interactive component to it.
Okay.
On the AI
So
side,
you self-modulate. Okay.
Well, it algorithmically automates modulation in response to just how you're responding. Okay. But on the AI side, as we build this for a lot larger audience, we're going to be using AI and machine learning across the whole population.
Of course. Yeah. We got 10 minutes.
Okay. So just a quick point on reimbursement that's important. We are significantly advantaged by having an existing reimbursement code and very favorable payment codes as well for this. And like I say, an expedited pathway with the FDA is a breakthrough device.
What's the cost?
Cost of the device? Well, you're charging of our reimbursement.
How much are you getting in reimbursement?
Well, we're pre-market now, but the pricing codes that are there that we'll end up negotiating when we get to market, when we launch it. But the payment codes are about $4,000 staged over monthly over 13 months.
$4,000 a month?
No, $4,000 over 13 months.
So about 300 something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to the extent you see anyone is interested in this, you see our pro formas. Our pro formas assume a much lower reimbursement than that.
Who's the buyer of this? The patient?
This is prescription medicine.
Okay. And what's the cost of manufacturing?
The cost of manufacturing this, obviously, it scales, and we haven't transferred to manufacturing yet.
Okay.
But, we're looking at between $150 and $200 for the device. Then we have a recurring for the app, because the app has to continue. So there's a recurring.
So it's a subscription
revenue model that goes with the app as well. Okay.
And does this cure, or is it a treatment that you need whenever migraines reemerge? Because you talked about a 6-month horizon. So after 6 months, if it comes back.
Yeah, if you put together the data I showed on the acute treatment, which is 70% complete pain-free in 20 minutes, but prevention side, that when you use this to acutely treat your future migraines, the chances of them occurring drop significantly. So over time with use, it could.
I'm just trying to figure out what the subscription model looks like.
Yeah, but for the most part, we're not claiming or necessarily expecting it to use this 10 times you'll never have migraine. All right, so just very quickly, you can see here in this space, you look at something called value, which is you can't just be medically better than what was there before. You also have to be cost effective. And so this graphs average estimated cost for a once weekly migraine patient against effectiveness, medical effectiveness. And you can see the whole industry, you can see if you can see the cursor. The whole industry is basically on the left and the white side of that slide. And we're down at the bottom right, far more effective and be able to sell at a much cheaper price and very profitably. I'm just going to jump quickly. We have pipeline that's significant with interactive and with wearables and also next-gen devices. A very big platform opportunity to expand pipeline and other indications. These mechanisms that we work with in the brain through the ears are key for seizure, stress, anxiety, depression, as well as other indications and other headaches. just really quickly to show that a couple examples of one of our digital health assets, back to the question asked about AI and machine learning. This shows the avatar as a replay. We call this migraine relief replay. And this shows 3 patient examples from our trial and what their distribution was in their head and how they responded to therapy. So the first 2 started as moderate headaches. And you can see, I know it's a little creepy, but you can see the headache distribution, and now the therapy starting, and you'll start to see it just fade away. Well, that's going. I'll start the second one, expedite this. Both of those patients went from moderate headaches to completely pain-free within 20 to 30 minutes. And the third patient was a severe headache that ended up going to mild, but was a very satisfied patient. So that is something no one's ever done before, be able to map the distribution of pain in the head to therapy, which is a very big opening into understanding migraine better. And imagine this across a ton of data and our ability to optimize therapies and understand migraine itself better. We are in dialogue with market leaders in this space already toward strategic partnerships and potential M&A. And this is an area of this product platform that's very exciting to them. We can get into team if you'd like to ask questions about it, but fantastic business partners in our business that have a really deep experience in running very successfully MedTech and tech businesses. We have an expansive team of experts in all areas: regulatory, clinical, quality, R&D, very well-established gurus. Our advisor champions are literally a who's who list of world leaders, key opinion leaders in neurology, headache, in particular migraine, ENT, involved with ears, and digital health as well.
A question from the audience on valuation at the last round and what the...
That was perfectly timed question.
Okay.
So last round valuation was, we raised $10 million. It was 27 million posts in the last round valuation. We raised $6 million of convertible debt, and we're raising a Series C now that's going to involve conversion of that debt plus new investment capital. And in terms of that, if anyone's interested in the company and its trajectory, I'm happy to.
What's your pre on this Series C?
The pre on the Series C can be negotiated. We're in term sheet with some people at a outstanding pre of about 40.
Okay, so pre of about 40 million. Okay.
Outstanding of about 40 and about 45 fully diluted. Forecasts, obviously, difficult to do when you're pre-market. We took a conservative approach. It looks aggressive here, but it's what you would forecast to be multiple, deep double digits, more effective than everything on the market, and for the #1 cause of disability in the world. And so we expect a very high reception to this, but even with that aggressive growth, it's still only assuming one or two out of 100 patients that are getting a migraine prescription are using our product within a couple of years.
We've got about 2 minutes. How do you distribute the product?
Well, we're not distributing it yet. We haven't built those channels yet.
Okay. How?
Very active dialogue with market leaders in both migraine market, which is big pharma, and neuromodulation devices, which is the highest growth area of MedTech. Those market leaders were in dialogue with both categories toward M&A that may be marketed by them.
Okay, so you're not going to self-distribute. You're going to get a distributor.
I never plan a company assuming I'll get acquired. So we have pro forma plans to raise Series B to launch commercially, but we're on a path right now toward being acquired.
Okay, most likely acquirers. Who would be?
Well,
I think you said Merck.
Market leaders in migraine would include Pfizer, Amgen, AbbVie, Eli Lilly, GSK, Janssen, J&J, others. Neuromodulation, Medtronic, and a number of other neuromodulation devices.
Do we have any questions from the audience here?
How easy is it to do? I'm sorry. No, we'll have the FDA approval first, and then we get the insurance coverage. And just to be clear, this device, for example, if we targeted relaxation or another, doing the same thing in your ears would be class 1, and we can just register with the FDA and go straight to market.
But it wouldn't be reimbursable by
It would
insurance.
be reimbursable. So claiming migraine makes it a class 2 device, which requires us to go through the FDA. So once we go through the FDA, we get approved, then we're allowed legally to sell the product for prescription. And then we have the reimbursement codes that are there for us to try to get coverage under. But first goal is to get a reimbursement code. Second goal is to get a payment code, the reimbursement code. Then the third goal is to get payers to agree to pay you those codes.
What other patient studies are planned?
Our FDA pivotal trial. We're in a study right now as we speak. We just ship products to patients to use at home for the next 45 days, just to screen for our FDA pivotal trial. There's a bunch of changes we made in the trial structure. I never run a clinical trial without having done it first before I do the big one for the FDA.
What's the sample size?
That'll be just 20, 30 patients just to screen.
No, I'm talking about what's the sample size for the,
It's going to be 10 centers, 164 patients.
164 patients. Got it. All right.
And just by the way, if you look in this space at all, or look at drugs, look at devices, a drug in this space will do 3,000 patients. That's not to prove effectiveness. That's to prove toxicity issues and safety issues. Effectiveness is shown by statistics, and statistics are met. The closer you are to not working well, the more patients you need. The better you work, the fewer patients.
Well, fantastic. Thanks so much, Jim.